Chapter 1. Percy. The snake-haired ladies were starting to annoy Percy. They should have died 3 days ago when he dropped a crate of bowling balls on them at the Napa Bargain Mart. They should have died 2 days ago when he ran over them with a police car in Martinez. They definitely should have died this morning when he cut off their heads in Tolton Park. No matter how many times Percy killed them and watched them crumble to powder, they kept reforming like large, evil dust bunnies. He couldn't even seem to outrun them. He reached the top of the hill and caught his breath. How long since he last killed them? Maybe 2 hours? They never seemed to stay dead longer than that. The past few days, he had hardly slept. He'd eaten everywhere he could scrounge. Vending machine, gummy bears, stale bagels, even a Jack-in-the-Crack burrito, which was a new personal low. His clothes were torn, burned, and splattered with monster slime. He only survived this long because the two snake-haired ladies, gorgons they called themselves, couldn't seem to kill him either. Their claws didn't cut his skin, their teeth broke whenever they tried to bite him, but Percy couldn't keep going much longer. Soon he'd collapse from exhaustion, and then, as hard as he was to kill, he was pretty sure the Gorgons could find a way. Where to run? He scanned his surroundings. Under different circumstances, he might have enjoyed the view. To his left, golden hills rolled inland, dotted with lakes, woods, and a few herds of cows. To his right, the flatlands of Berkeley and Oakland marched west. A vast checkerboard of neighborhoods with 7 million people who probably didn't want their morning interrupted by 2 monsters and a filthy demigod. Farther west, San Francisco Bay glittered under a silvery haze. Past that, a wall of fog swallowed most of San Francisco, leaving just the top of skyscrapers and the towers of the Golden Gate Bridge. A vague sadness weighed on Percy's chest. Something told him he'd been to San Francisco before. The city had some connection to Annabeth, the only person he could remember from his past. His memory of her was frustratingly dim. The wolf had promised he would see her again and regain his memory if he succeeded his journey. Should he try to cross the bay? It was tempting. He could feel the power of the ocean just over the horizon. Water always revived him. Salt water was best. He discovered that 2 days ago when he had strangled a sea monster in the Carkenzie Strait. If he could just reach the bay, he might be able to make a last stand. Maybe he could even drown the Gorgons. But the shore was at least 2 miles away. He'd have to cross an entire city. He hesitated for another reason. The she-wolf, Luca, had taught him to sharpen his senses, to trust the instincts that had been guiding him south. His homing radar was tingling like crazy now. The end of his journey was close, almost right under his feet. But how could that be? There was nothing on the hilltop. The wind changed, and Percy caught the sour scent of reptile. 100 yards down the slope, something rustled through the woods, snapping branches, crushing leaves, hissing. Gorgons. For the millionth time, Percy wished their noses weren't so good. They had always said that they could smell him because he was a demigod, the half-blood son of some old Roman god. Percy had tried rolling in mud, splashing through creeks, even keeping fresh air freshener sticks in his pockets so he would have a new car smell. But apparently, demigod stink was hard to mask. He scrambled to the west side of the summit. It was too steep to descend. The slope plummeted 80 feet straight to the roof of an apartment complex built into the hillside. 50 feet below that, a highway emerged from the hill base and wound its way towards Berkeley. Great. No other way off the hill. He managed to get himself cornered. He stared at the stream of cars flowing west towards San Francisco and wished he were in one of them. Then he realized the highway must cut through the hill. There must be a tunnel right under his feet. His internal radar went nuts. He was in the right place, just too high up. He had to check out that tunnel. He needed a way to get down there, down to the highway, fast. He slung off his backpack. He managed to grab a lot of supplies at the Napa Bargain Mart. A portable GPS, duct tape, lighter, super glue, water bottle, camping roll, and a comfy panda pillow pet, as seen on TV. And a Swiss Army knife. Pretty much every modern tool a demigod could want. But he had nothing that would serve as a parachute or sled. And that left him with two options: jump 80 feet to his death, or stand and fight. Both options sounded pretty bad. He cursed and pulled his pen out from his pocket. The pen didn't look like much, just a regular cheap ballpoint, but when Percy uncapped it, it grew into a glowing bronze sword. The blade balanced perfectly. The leather grip fit his hand like it had been custom designed for him. Edged along the guard was ancient Greek word somehow Percy understood: alcumus, riptide. He'd woken up with the sword the first night at the Wolf House. 2 months ago? More? He'd lost track. He'd found himself in the country yard of a burned-out mansion in the middle of the woods, wearing shorts, an orange t-shirt, and a leather necklace with a bunch of strange clay beads. Riptide had been in his hands, but Percy had no idea how he'd gotten there, and only the vaguest idea of who he was. He'd been barefoot, freezing, and confused. And then the wolf came. Right next to him, a familiar voice jolted him back to the present. "There you are!" Percy stumbled away from the Gorgons, almost falling off the edge of the hill. This was the smiley one, Beano. Okay, her name wasn't really Beano. As near as Percy could figure, he was dyslexic, because words got twisted around when he tried to read. The first time he'd seen the Gorgon posing as a bargain mart greeter with a big screen button that read, "Welcome, my name is Cintho," he thought he said Beano. She was still wearing her green bargain mart employee vest over that flowery print dress. If you looked at just her body, you might think she was some old grandmother, until you looked down and realized she had rooster feet. Or you looked up and saw bronze boar tusks sitting out of the corner of her mouth. Her eyes glowed red, and her hair was a withering nest of bright green snakes. The most horrible thing about her, she was still holding a big silver platter of free samples, crispy cheese and wieners. Her plate was dented from all the times Percy had killed her, but those samples looked perfectly fine. Cintho just kept toting them across California so she could offer Percy a snack before she killed him. Percy didn't know why she kept doing that, but if he ever needed a suit of armor, he was going to make it out of crisp cheese and wieners. They were indestructible. "Try one," Cintho offered. Percy fended her off with his sword. "Where's your sister?" "Oh, put that sword away," Cintho chimed. "You know by now that even silencial bronze can't kill us for long. Have a cheese and wiener. They're on sale this week, and I'd hate to kill you on an empty stomach." "Cintho!" The second Gorgon appeared to Percy's right so fast he didn't even have time to react. Fortunately, she was too busy glaring at his sister to pay much attention to him. "I told you to sneak up on him and kill him!" Cintho smiled, wavered. But Ilira... She said the names to rhymed with Muriel. "Can't I give him a sample first? No, you impeccable! Ariel turned towards Percy and bared her fangs. Except for her hair, which was a nest of coral snakes instead of green vipers, she looked exactly like her sister. Her bargain mart vest, her flowery dress, even her tusks were decorated with 50% off stickers, and her name badge read, "Hello, my name is Die Demigod Scum." "You led us on quite a chase, Percy Jackson," Ariel said, "but now you're trapped, and we'll have our revenge." "The cheese and wieners are only $2.99, Cynthia added helpfully. "Grocery department, aisles 3. Ariel snarled, "Cynthia, the bargain mart was a front. You're going naive. Now put those ridiculous trays down and help me kill the demigod. Or have you forgotten that he's the one that vaporized Medusa?" Percy stepped back 6 more inches, and he'd be tumbling through the air. "Look, ladies, we've been over this. I don't even remember killing Medusa. I don't remember anything. Can't we just call it a truce and talk about your weekly specials?" Cynthia gave her sister a pouty look, which was hard to do with those giant bronze tusks. "Can we?" "No!" Uriel red eyes bored into Percy. "I don't care what you remember, son of Sea God. I can smell Medusa's blood on you. It's faint, yes, several years old. But you were the last one to defeat her. She still has not returned from Tartarus. It's your fault." Percy really didn't get that. The whole dying, the returning from Tartarus concept gave him a headache. Of course, so did the idea of a ballpoint pen turning into a sword, or that monsters could disguise themselves as something else with this thing called mist, or that Percy was the son of a barnacle-encrusted god from 5,000 years ago. But he did believe it. Even though his memory was erased, he knew that he was a demigod the same way he knew his name was Percy Jackson. From the very first conversation with Lupa, the wolf, he'd accepted that this crazy messed-up world of gods and monsters was his reality, which pretty much sucked. "How about we call it a draw?" he said. "I can't kill you, you can't kill me. If you're Medusa's sisters, like the Medusa, who turned people to stone, shouldn't I be petrified by now?" "Heroes!" Uriel said with disgust. "They always bring that up, just like our mother. Why can't you turn people to stone? Your sister can turn people to stone." "Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you, boy. That was Medusa's curse alone. She was the most hideous one in the family. She got all the luck." Cynthia looked hurt. "Mother said I was the most hideous." "Quiet," Uriel snapped. "As for you, Percy Jackson, it's true that you bear the mark of Anchises, but that makes you a little tougher to kill. But don't worry. We'll find a way." "The mark of what?" "Anchises," Cynthia said cheerfully. "Oh, he was gorgeous. Dipped in the river St. as a child, you know. So he was invulnerable, except for a tiny spot on his ankle. That's what happened to you, dear. Someone must have dumped you in the sinks and made your skin like iron. But do not worry. Heroes always have a weak spot. We just have to find it, and then we can kill you. Won't that be lovely? Have a cheese and wiener." Percy tried to think. He didn't remember any dip in the sinks. Then again, he didn't remember much of anything. His skin didn't feel like iron, but that would explain how he held out for so long against the Gorgons. Maybe if he just fell down the mountain, would he survive? He didn't want to risk it. Not without something to slow the fall. Or a sled, or... He looked at Cyntho's large silver platter of free samples. "Were you considering?" Cyntho asked. "Very wise, dear. I added some Gorgon bloods to these, so your death will be quick and painless." Percy's throat constricted. You added your blood to the cheese and wieners?" "Just a little," Cyntho smiled. "And a tiny nick on my arm. But you're sweet to be concerned." blood from our right side can cure anything, you know, but blood from our left side is deadly. You dimwit! Uriel screeched. You're not supposed to tell him that! He won't eat the wieners if he knows they're poisoned. Cynthia looked stunned. He won't? But I said it'd be quick and painless. Never mind. Uriel's fingernails grew into claws. We're